Hello and welcome to the first video on State of the Art. My name is Thomas, your host, and today I'm going to be showing you the process of making an abstract, functional piece of art. This specific piece is for Peter Draws, who is also a YouTuber and an artist. I'm going to go ahead and leave his channel and his Instagram in the comments or the notes below the video. Highly recommend checking out his content. Again, he's a great artist, a really fun creator. Highly recommend checking him out. For this specific piece, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want to see if you guys can figure it out. I threw a bunch of these cylinders on the wheel off of the hump. I spared you the time of watching me do that. It wasn't too exciting, I promise. Once they were all leather hard and trimmed up a little bit, I started to assemble these by just scoring and slipping them. I had an idea of what I wanted the form to look like, a rough idea, and I kind of just started throwing these together, kind of letting them kind of fall into place. I was a little worried that they wouldn't come together very nicely. Surprisingly, it was very organic, very natural. They all kind of fell into place, so I was super stoked on that. As I started working down towards the bottom, I started to find a couple of anchor points where the sculpture could rest. Although I did my best to make these tubes as thin as possible, the sculpture itself still did have some weight to it. So as I got down towards the bottom, I arranged these tubes just to kind of give it some more support. I believe there were maybe 3 or 4 points at the very bottom that were touching that helped hold up this sculpture. As it dried, I kind of kept the sponge behind it just to kind of hold that spot up there. I'm going around the outside and filling in some of the gaps just to kind of smooth out the sculpture. There really wasn't a lot of carving or trimming. The majority of the form was created by combining these tube forms, so it was pretty straightforward when it came to cleaning up the form. I noticed that there were a few spots here that weren't necessary as part of the structural aspect of the sculpture, so I went and dug them out and was able to give the sculpture a little bit more life, a little bit more negative space. I think it added some cool aspects to it here. Smoothing out the sculpture a little bit more here with the sponge. I totally forgot to adding these little spikes on the sides. I just kind of made them out of a slab and scored and slipped them on. You guys have any idea of what this could be? Let me know in the comments if you think you know. I'm curious to see if anybody gets it. Now, I'm not going to tell you, but what I want you to do is, at some point in time, hop over to Peter Draws' channel and see if maybe he talks about it during one of his subscriber openings. I think he opens mail once in a while, I'm not sure. And then maybe if you go and check him out, you can find out what this is. Here is the finished form. leather hard, getting bone dry for the first fire. After the first fire, I went through and added some black underglaze on the bottom, as well as some wax resist, just to make sure we don't run into any issues with the glazing. If you guys don't know, wax resist, it's wax and it resists moisture, water, or glaze. It makes the cleanup process a little easier when you're glazing things. I want to go ahead and apologize now for the constant turning of this blue wheel. It wasn't until I was editing the video that I noticed how much the sculpture was actually moving the whole time. So I do apologize about that. Again, this is my first video ever, so again, thank you guys so much for checking it out. I know a few of you that may be watching, a few of you I may not know. So for those who don't know me, again, my name is Thomas. This is my first YouTube video on the State of the Art YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys tuning in here. I'm going to use 3 different glazes or 3 different colors for the insides of these tubes. I'm still very new to ceramics and pottery, so when it comes to glazing, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just kind of crossing my fingers and hoping everything works out. I did prepare for this one. I try to make sure I had a good glaze combination. First layer is going to be a very simple black glaze. After the black glaze, I'm going to come through this with a different glaze here called Galaxy. It's an interesting glaze. It has minerals in it. You can see there are little chunks of minerals that interact with the glaze during the firing process. This is, I believe, cone 5, cone 6, 0506. For those of you who don't know much about ceramics, that's just the temperature that the piece is fired at. At a high temperature, this glaze will melt into a glass substance. It's actually pretty magical. It's one of the things that I love about ceramics is how many different glazes, combinations, styles. It's just, the options are never ending. You might be wondering if I cut myself with that X-Acto knife. That's why I have a little thing on my thumb. I didn't. I hurt myself in a different way, but gotta be careful using an X-Acto knife, guys. Be careful out there. Once I get these this tape off of these little hooks, I'm gonna go ahead and apply another interesting glaze called Palladium. I believe that's the name of it, and it's a metallic silver glaze and almost looks like metal, polished silver. I know this is my first YouTube video, but if there's anything out that you guys want me to make or think it would be fun to watch me make, let me know. For now, I'm probably just going to focus on the projects that I have going on. But if there's something that you want me to film making, explain the process, what tools I used, etc., let me know. I want this to be an educational channel. I want people to be able to learn about art, how it's made, maybe inspire them to go out there and try to make something themselves. Alright, here it is, fully glazed and ready for firing, the last fire. And here it is, in all its glory. It turned out pretty cool. Looking back at it, would have I done maybe something different on the insides of these tubes? Maybe. But I think the contrast of the colors is really cool. You can see the glaze here, those minerals creating kind of a galaxy-like circular orbits or dots. The metallic hooks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys being here. Drop a comment, smash that like. If you want, subscribe, and have a great day.